Hello and welcome back to another lesson in Vedic astrology. Today I am going to speak about Rahu and Ketu with reference to eclipses. Is it possible for a person dealing with Vedic astrology to spot an eclipse in the horoscope that they are reading? The eclipses happen so routinely, so many people are born during eclipses. How is it that we can tell whether this person whose horoscope you are reading was born in an eclipse or not? So that is the question we are going to answer in this video. So there are three essential things that you need to know about Rahu and Ketu before we proceed, and that is Rahu and Ketu are almost one and the same. Maybe Rahu you can call it as the head and Ketu as the tail. It's always 180 degrees opposite. Second is that Rahu and Ketu are always involved with eclipses. So that is the second fact. And the third fact is that you need to know that Rahu and Ketu always goes backwards, and it moves from one sign to the next, roughly one and a half years once. Which are the other two grahas that are involved in an eclipse? Obviously it is the sun and the moon, because we have the solar eclipses and then we have the lunar eclipses. So the first thing that you need to understand is the lunar eclipses always happen on full moon day, because you have to imagine that the moon is full and that is what is getting eclipsed. So another thing is that the solar eclipses always happens on Amavasya days, which is the new moon day. Now let us mark Rahu here, and where will Ketu be? It will always be 7 signs from it. Always count the same sign that Rahu occupies as 1, and then say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here is Ketu. You can actually count it either side, it's the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is always how Rahu and Ketu would be. For example, if you had Rahu here, and then you will have Ketu here. If you had Rahu here, you will have Ketu here. So that's how it is. Always 180 degrees. It divides the entire chart into 2 equal parts. So that's another way of looking at it. Now, this Rahu always goes this way. So Rahu from here, the next transit will be here, and then next year obviously Ketu also will be moving like this, whereas all the grahas always move like this most of the time, except when the planet is retrograde. It goes a little while, it goes backward for a little while, and then again resumes forward motion, so it goes back again. So this is the tendency of all the grahas. It just moves like this, except Rahu and Ketu. So now we have to find out what is the relationship between the sun and the moon, which causes the eclipse. So only these two are involved. Okay? The sun, as you all know, moves through these 12 signs, starting from here, from April 14th or mid-April. The sun enters here, then moves over here, then goes clockwise. It occupies one sign for 1 month. And so we have 12 months makes a year. So this is how the sun goes around. And as it goes once, when sun moves like this, it comes here. Now this triggers an eclipse as soon as the sun and Rahu come together. So the first condition for an eclipse is the sun will be connected to Rahu or with Ketu. That is the first condition. Once this happens, the moon, goes round like this once in 28 days, spends 2.25 days in each sign, keeps going eternally like this, just like the sun, goes clockwise all the time. And then, as the moon goes, once in a while, once in 28 days, the moon must come here. Now this is a solar eclipse. The reason for a solar eclipse is the sun and the moon are together, and that is a new moon. This moon blocks the sun. So that is why it happens. But you may wonder, each time the moon comes over the sun, does the solar eclipse happen? It never happens. For that you need Rahu to be there. And Rahu must be there along with these two luminaries to cause the eclipse. That is the reason why every Amavasya or every new moon we do not have an eclipse happening. Now this is one condition, which is actually a solar eclipse, and let's remove the moon from here and assume the moon travels from here, goes like this and comes here. It happens maybe 13th or 14th or 15th day, the moon will be here. If the moon is here, the light from the sun will hit the moon, round. So you have a full moon. Each time the sun and the moon are on opposite sides, and because the moon is aligned with Ketu, therefore, and the sun is with Rahu, this is a lunar eclipse. So this is the reason why an eclipse happens so close to another eclipse. So if there is a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, whichever occurs first, then within 14 days there will be another eclipse. That is because the moon will be either here or it will be here, and this will happen once in 14 days. This way you can say that the eclipse happens two times in quick succession within a 14-day junction when the sun meets Rahu. So now this sun from here will go pass over each sign and then come here. That happens after roughly 1 month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So somewhere around 6 months. Okay, the sun will come here. So once the sun comes and meets Ketu, this is time for another eclipse, and all you need to have is, let's say when it meets, maybe the moon is here, therefore there is no eclipse. You need the moon to be involved. So the moon from here has to come over here, and then let's say we have the moon here. So now the moon from here has come over here, 2.25 days, after that 5 days, and then it is back here. So this time it joins with Rahu, and since the sun and the moon are opposing each other, this is a full moon day, and because the full moon happens, or the sun moon opposition happens on the same axis of Rahu and Ketu, you have another eclipse. So anytime in any horoscope, whichever you are seeing, let it be 1950s or 1940s or 1920s, let's say any year, and then you just want to know whether there was an eclipse, all you have to check is the sun along with Rahu or Ketu, and then is the moon also on the same axis. If you get yes for an answer, then you should know that the person was born in an eclipse. The next time you see a horoscope, let it be any year, 1950, 1920, or even 2000 or 2010, anything, whatever it is, the moment you see Rahu and Ketu on the same axis of the sun-moon axis, then you should know that it is an eclipse. Isn't this wonderful that this knowledge was available to Indians 5,000 to 7,000 years back, and they could easily do this because even in Lord Rama's horoscope we have Rahu and Ketu marked on it. We have Sri Krishna's horoscope in which Rahu and Ketu is marked. So obviously the seers of Vedic astrology had a thorough knowledge of Rahu and Ketu. So if you want to really check this out, all you have to do is go to the website of NASA, take any particular year, say 1962 or 65, anything, and then find out when was the solar eclipse, take the date and cast a chart for that day, and you will be surprised that Rahu and Ketu and the sun and the moon, these two axes are on the same line, and that's how an eclipse happens. So never think that Rahu and Ketu are just imaginary points in the sky, or it is some mumbo jumbo, somebody a superstitious belief. They are real, and you can calculate where they are, and this is the proof for that.